Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. I was just sitting up here in the Hag room reflecting on women integrating into combat arms roles. Some of our research found that there are concerns between the different physical standards between men and women. Right now the Army has different physical standards for the APFT for men versus women, and then additionally West Point has different standards on IOCT, different DP classes. So we kind of researched what maybe equalizing those standards will be and kind of what the effects in combat of integrating women into combat arms will be.
Hi, I'm Slipper Jones. I'm class of 2019 and my branch is Field Artillery.
Awesome. Amanda Keurig, class of 2019, going armor.
Awesome. Class 9.
So I'm Taylor Horn. I am a first year right now, and I branch quartermaster, but I am also applying to graduate school right now to possibly go straight after graduation.
Great. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I've been encouraging a lot of the younger gals in my company as well. They've been asking about it. I think it's just the coolest thing because it brings a whole new perspective to any unit, and I get that there's a lot of issues with it. A lot of people aren't really for it, but I figure if someone can meet the standards, then by all means, let them at it.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I don't want to be excluded from something just because of my gender. That's stupid. People should be judged on their capabilities, not by what anatomy they have. It's a good thing to start integrating because then you have a more realistic assessment of people's capabilities, and as I said, since that's what I think people should be judged on, if you have an equal grading scale, then it makes it easier to see how everyone's doing. And I won't claim to be as fit as most men here, but I am working on it. So I think that the upcoming standard of having that equal standard is something that's put pressure on me to get my butt in gear, and that's been really good for me.
I think that's where we need to start because I am a kines major, so fitness is what I do for 8 hours a day. But yeah, absolutely. There shouldn't be oh, females only need to do this, males only need to do this, because on the battlefield there's only the one standard, so it's can you pick up your friend or can you not? And I want to know the people to my left and right have met the same standards that everybody else has.
So when it comes to physical demands, I believe that it shouldn't be necessarily divided between male and female. I think it should be based on branch, how the ACFT is trying to do gender neutral and based on the demands of your branch.
It would be a little bit detrimental if they're trying to increase the population of females, but I feel if someone can't meet that standard, then they shouldn't be going combat arms anyway. I think in the long run, it'll benefit the branches a lot more because they're looking at doing that too. I don't know if you guys went to Colonel Gist, but they're trying to change IOCT standards, a lot of the grading standards. So initially there'll be a lot of backlash. When those females recognize hey, this is the new standard, that's what I need to start training to, well then they're going to be much more likely to be meeting that standard down the road. So.
I don't think so, because when I initially came to West Point, I didn't know about all the logistical branches. I always thought that the Army was composed of FA, infantry, armor, those things.
Sure.
That's what you see on the commercials, that's what you hear the main people talking about. So originally I wanted to go to FA, but once I knew that there were a whole bunch of other branches that I could apply for, and I felt like I best fit quartermaster, the logistical side of the Army.
Absolutely. I mean, I had to do a year at prep school, so I went to Marion in Alabama. And even then, people would ask, hey, what do you want to branch? It was always armor, but it was 2014, and it wasn't open yet. So as a plebe, it was 2015, and it wasn't open yet, but you could put it as number 1 in the little, whatever the online thing is called, so I just kept putting number 1, and eventually opened. I think it's something people need to be aware of. You shouldn't come here and think that you're going to be able to not go combat arms, because if they need you, they need you. But yeah, it was always my number 1 from day 1. So.
Based on our research, there are other concerns that the Army is becoming too political and maybe forcing people into jobs they might not be qualified for, whether physically or not, and just trying to fill quotas. So we went ahead and talked to some cadets about it, and here's what they have to say.
I think it goes back to the whole quota thing that we necessarily feel like we have to have diversity, which is good, but you also need to make sure that when you're trying to be diverse, that those people fit the roles. Because if you just put somebody who isn't really good at physical demands of a branch, or you put somebody who's not even like into that job, then they're not going to give their full 100% into it.
Sure.
And it's like the Army's just saying, that's a check. We got this many female combat roles, we got this many whites, this many blacks, and it's like that's not necessarily how we should be looking into putting people into those roles. It should be a best fit type of situation.
Well, that's good.
I want to say no, but I think in general people have the perception that females are more emotionally like cognizant and will be a little bit like softer. That might not be the case, but I think people expect them to be, whereas dudes are generally supposed to be like tougher and harder. Like you can't go to them with like emotional problems. So ideally you find like that nice middle, but I don't think that's necessarily a gender thing. I think that's kind of like a personality thing.
That's fair.
There are also concerns about integrating women into primarily male units and how that will help or hinder unit cohesion. Here's what some cadets have to say about the unit cohesion.
Like even here at West Point, when we've been talking about those different things, a lot of women say like men have a certain culture, and then when females come in, they have to change the way that they act and like how they talk, how they interact because of females in the unit. So that kind of already creates tension if she's like the only one, and they feel like it's a us versus you thing.
Sure.
I don't think that's true. I know on everyone's mind, especially on West Point right now, is like sharp, and that is like a major issue, and this kind of creates more scenarios where sharp could occur. But like I don't think any individual female soldier is less of a teammate than any male. So I know, I'm sure it's the same with guys, but like you have your guy friends, you have your gal friends, and that's kind of like your pack. But that couldn't, I had that same mentality with like groups here, especially now that companies like are scrambling. I hope it's the same for you guys, but D1, like we're all just one giant like flock. Like it doesn't, like gender's never been an issue, it's never comes into it, it's just these are our teammates.
I think that's fucking bullshit, and they can all go to hell. Or should I say that cleanly?
It's fine.
Okay, all right.
In conclusion, our research indicates that most people believe that having equal physical standards for both males and females is a good first step towards integration. In the long term, it will help the right women go into the right combat arms branches. Additionally, we see that quotas are being filled. However, in the long term, we believe that the Army will be able to figure it out so that the right people go into the right branches. And we think that as time progresses, they'll be easier and easier to figure out. Finally, with unit cohesion, other non-combat arms branches have already been gender integrated for years, and actually we see an increase in unit cohesion. So we believe that most of these issues that we see stem from people not knowing what they're missing. So we do not believe that unit cohesion will be an issue. Overall, men and women are biologically different, but being different should not allow us to oversee the great aspects that each one of us has to offer. When we combine our military forces to allow for both men and women into combat arms, we can create a more well-rounded and stronger armed forces overall. Seeing that men and women are structurally, on the aggregate, physically and biologically different, the military needs to take the time and resources and testing to take care of the women's role in combat arms, and we see this happening in the future.